Hello and welcome to the TC Exchange podcast. I'm Amity Kraus, ex-retail girl turned realtor turned business owner, where I teach new transaction coordinators how to navigate the complex real estate industry and coach experienced TCs how to level up their game and businesses to add even more value to their agents. Come along with me while I guide you through this intense, complicated, but always fun world of transaction coordination. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the TC Exchange podcast. I am so glad that you are here today. Today, we have a very special guest, my good friend, Josie Flanigan from TC Optimize. Now, many of you are brand new transaction coordinators and struggle with getting a good system set up, and Josie definitely is one of the specialists in our industry that helps us with that. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about tips and tricks for getting ready for your spring market and for making sure that your systems are good and ready to go for when you scale. So here we go. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, Josie, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited that you are here. Everybody, you just heard our brief introduction. This is Josie Flanigan from TC Optimize. She is a fantastic powerhouse when it comes to knowing all there is to know about getting ready for the spring market, what to do when you're trying to optimize your business and getting ready to scale it. So, Josie, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be a
Oh,
guest for you.
yay. Yes, I'm so glad to have you. So tell us a little bit about TC Optimize and introduce your company and tell us how you got started and how you focus on optimizing systems.
Yeah. If we're talking about where I got started, I'd have to bring it back to like fifth grade when when I was the teacher's pet, of course, and passing out papers, I've always looked at a faster way of doing things. Passing out papers in the class, right? You're either stacking a pile and letting it go, or you come around and pick up the rest. And I thought about that as a 10-year-old, like, what is the best strategy around getting these papers out and getting back to my seat as soon as possible. So that's where the efficiency and obsession with process started. But I did when I got into the workforce, I did see a lot of the same thing, and as the teacher's pet thing, I also really gravitated towards opportunities where I could train. So, when I was 22, I was hired as a call center, just a representative for customer service, and within 2 weeks, they put me in a training position, and it was kind of it was a pattern. So in 2015, that's when I became an agent. And even then, I joined Keller Williams, and within 9 months, I was training on lead gen and systems and how to organize all of your stuff. So when I started real estate, I had already had this huge hunger for learning and growing and constantly reading something or creating or building something. And real estate, it gave me every other thing before then. It was 2 years and I was done. Like, this is boring. And with real estate, it was like it never ends. The learning never ends. And I was definitely in a place where, you know, then I was ready to learn everything that I needed to know. I kind of moved fast. I uh, did do kind of the 2-year thing. I was 2 years an agent. I was an ISA. I ended up being a listing manager and all of that. I did some transaction coordination, and then I moved to Georgia, and I was an ops manager for a real estate team. So when I started there, I had actually not been in real estate for about a year. So I was trying to like, hey, is there something else here in Georgia for me? Is there something else I could do? And I landed right back in real estate. And it was kind of, you know, with that experience, I learned and fell in love with the transaction coordination piece. And I was in Trello at that time. It was only a team of 2 agents, and they were selling about 3 transactions a month. And we grew that team within 6 months to 5 agents, closing 23 at any given at by month 6, it was 23 transactions. We were in Trello, and I personally didn't know anything outside. I didn't even know transaction management focused software was out there. And that was 2018, 19, 2019. So yeah, when I left that team, I said, I want to start my own TC business. I sent an blast email out to a few KWs here, and it landed in the hands of the owners of those KWs. And that's when I started digging in. They wanted me to handle or build a transaction management division for 10 of their offices in this area. So I was like, how the heck can Trello handle this? No way. So, you know, it goes to show, you know, you are at those different levels. I started doing a bunch of research, found TC workflow, and then a few months later, opened up. I ended up stepping away from that opportunity with the KWs, with the KW offices, but I took TC workflow and I started my own business. I built out this software, and I had already been building, waiting for them to I was kind of being pushed along, but after I realized the capabilities that even a transaction management software like TC Docs, taking it from Trello to TC Docs is a game changer, right? Going from TC Docs to open to close is just mind blowing. So I was definitely in that place where it was I saw how it changed my productivity, my life, my business, and I just started talking about it to everyone. And next thing I know, everyone kind of needed help, and I was helping for free for a while, but I was also building my TC business. By month 6, I was in 12 states. I had, by the end of that year, I don't know exactly at that 6-month point when I launched TC Optimize, but by the end of that year, I'd closed 250, and it was just insane kind of dealing with both. But I was able to create a system within Open to Close where I could hire a VA to step in and do all, not knowing anything about real estate, anything about TC, and do all of those things. How is that even possible? And it wasn't for a long time. Open to Close makes it so you can build a scalable process. Things only show up when they're supposed to. So the person behind the screen clicking those buttons doesn't need to fully understand all of real estate or transaction management, the power behind what technology did, and just that really inspired me to make this change for everyone else. I'm also, you know, I don't have any children myself, but women are freaking superheroes. I don't know how you guys do it.
Mhm.
And it pains me that we are expected to show up at home the way that we do, the superheroes that you are, and to work. So I just my goal is saving time, helping people really reduce the time that they have to work, working smarter, not harder. And it is a journey. So yeah, that was a long-winded about TC Optimize.
Well, I love it. I love it. So I started with TC Workflow when it first came out. It was but not when it first came out. I'm not sure. It was maybe about 6 to 9 months before transitioning to open to close. So, and I remember, and I transitioned there from using spreadsheets. I wasn't even advanced enough
Oh,
for
wow.
Trello. So I was on spreadsheets, but I saw the signs, the writing on the wall that said, okay, you got to get ready to go and be ready to scale fast. And the way that you're going to do that is through solid systems. And so that's what led me to TC Workflow, because at the time that was the most powerful system that was available, in my opinion. And then transitioning from there to open to close. And that's where you and I met, because you helped me set up my system all those years ago, which we still use so many of those parts and pieces today. And I'll forever be grateful for the amazing business we've been able to run with it. So I and one thing that I really appreciate about you and TC Optimize is that you are so there for our community. I see you on the posts through a variety of different boards on the Facebook groups, on the ones that are affiliated with Open to Close. I see you, of course, and then I see you on the other general ones, and you're always so giving. And I know that that is why you have been able to build a successful business, because you started from giving from the heart and contribution, and it's turned into something that's so wonderful for our community altogether. So great long-winded answer and telling us your amazing story, but I do have more questions. So some of them, I definitely do think that it's clear that you were led on this path to optimizing systems from a young age. So, but talk specifically about transaction coordination for our brand new TCs out there that really don't know much about systems even at all. Why do you think that having systems in place for TCs is so important for the real estate industry?
Yeah. So for one, and especially someone, I do like to think about things like someone starting out and someone at the middle level, maybe someone at a TC Docs A-frame, and then we've got the Airtable OTC people, right? So in the very beginning, we don't have those systems. We don't know what we don't know, and that's the worst part of it, right? So it's so important for people just starting out. You either have to have real estate license or experience and as an admin, as a TC, something in that world. And I always said, like the license or that, because if as a TC you say I'm a licensed transaction coordinator, you're not going to be questioned much about whether you have experience. But if you have experience and no license, they're going to be looking for that experience, right? So it might be easier for you to get your foot in the door by being licensed, and you're also understanding a lot of the important things and the laws about what you have to do, what you can and can't do as an agent, where it might scare you to like, okay, well, I'm not doing a lot of other things, because that you don't want to put their license at risk either. So the education piece and gathering those, you can't avoid that. You're not gonna just jump into being a transaction coordinator, business owner. You have to start somewhere. No one just starts as because it's not just transaction coordinator. It's a lead generator, a sales director. You're a business owner. It's that little piece of it. If you want to try transaction coordination, go try it in someone else's business. But you can't start your own not really knowing all of the pieces of entrepreneurship and not knowing the piece of the role that you're looking to play.
Yeah.
So
And then those systems are really going to help support you in getting through that journey.
oh yeah, totally. And you have to get in the communities. You have to be willing to ask questions. You have to accumulate those things. Do research on your own. talk to Chat GPT. Like I literally talk to it like it's one of my friends now.
Mhm.
It's like we're on texting terms right now.
Please and thank
Um,
you.
yes, I totally do. I say, could you please? My brother laughs at me because I speak so politely to it. Like this is bestie. You have to respect it. Anyways, so yeah, and when you're now implementing tools as a new TC, you don't want to jump into something that is even at a TC docs level. You don't want to jump in there because you're going to have changes that your agent's going to tell you, oh, hey, this is usually done. You're learning right now. So you want a tool that you can quickly make changes to, and it doesn't disrupt all the transactions that you've got going on. So that's why I always recommend something like a virtual whiteboard or Trello, because it's so easy to change those templates, move things around, where if you did something, if you wanted to change something in a fully built out open to close, you've got to understand all those connections and how to, and what else you might need to look at, right? So you should have your systems in place. You should understand your role, what you do, and what you offer them before you even set up open to close.
Yeah.
Um,
That is really, really good advice. I hear a lot of times transaction coordinators that are new in the industry, they come on and they ask questions about, do I need a website, or like basic marketing questions and stuff like that. What I see less often are people who are asking about building out their systems, and first of all, recognizing even that they need a system. And then I really do, though, like what you're saying here is that starting simple with a virtual whiteboard, with a Trello, so you know what it is you're doing, you know what you're offering. So then you can say, okay, this is the system, this is the box that this system lives in, but now I'm gonna scale it. Here is a tool like open to close that will support my system and its scalability. I love that. I love that. I think we get confused sometimes. And I know that a good friend of both of ours, David Bruckheimer, often talks about that systems are not tools and tools are not systems. And that really brought that full circle. That's great.
yeah. Yeah, it definitely, when we're looking at the level up, right? We want to jump to the next big thing, the shiny objects that the TCs that have been in for the longest time know their systems. Like we can't jump from Trello to open to close either. If you're going from a tool that you don't have email templates that you can put merge fields automatically into, that's going to be a complete game changer for you. That's good. That by itself is going to save you so much time. So jumping into TC docs when you've got 15 transactions in Trello, you've been in there even a few weeks if that's what it needs to be, but preferably a few months, you've outlined those things. All right, I'm ready for the next level. It's TC docs. Let me put my email templates. I've got my merge fields. I've got all these things. Okay, great. Now you're learning how to automate at a very, very basic level. I call it automation, merge fields, because really you're automatically adding a text into. So I call it automation, right?
It
You're
counts.
you're yeah. And then even being able to pick and choose what task template you add to the transaction. We're so used to having a huge task template with all of our tasks, whether they're septic or not, we see that task, whether there's termite or not, right? But now in this next level, we can create smaller task templates that we bring in only when they apply. If the inspection is waived, I don't want my inspection task to come in. I don't want to be interrupted by that mid-transaction. I don't want to have to go check to see if there's actually an inspection. So you can manually do that. And then once you're comfortable at that TC Docs A-frame stage, where it's like, okay, this is cool, this is nice, everything's good, then start looking at, okay, what's my next level? That's going to be open to close or Airtable. Are you super tech savvy where you're willing to do formulas and build something crazy amazing? Airtable is going to be it. If you want to take the shortcuts, because OTC has basically just created Airtable, but made it user friendly. They've made a box for you to do something as opposed to having to understand how to put that formula together. So, from there, talking about email templates, so you go from not having merge fields in Trello to having merge fields in TC Docs. And now in open to close, we're going to have merge fields that come in only when a specific condition is met. That's the next level up, right? So if you don't understand merge fields and how they work, how are you going to understand smart blocks and open to close? So I always think about it as a gradual growth, because we all, like, when we're trying to create habits, right? That's I'm pretty big on habits and routines. And when you're creating habits, you're not going to expect yourself to meet that goal immediately. That, like, if I want to earn $1 million, year 10, year 5 isn't going to be it's going to be 5. We have to give ourselves grace and give ourselves time. We're in a world right now, and technology has 100% is the reason why we're like this, but we need things now. We want things tomorrow. We need things fast.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work when you're getting serious about putting your systems together, because it requires you to mess up over and over again, to implement things, realize you forgot things, come back to it. It's a slow progress and a project you chip away at with time. So yeah, it's also important to give yourself that. You can set up TC Docs in a month, in 2 weeks. Put yourself in a good place in Trello where you're not drowning, then go into TC Docs where you're slowly, all right, today I'm going to sit down for an hour and knock off whatever's next on my list, my email templates and this and that. So yeah,
So we started
I'll wrap
talking
it up
about
there, but yeah.
we started talking about system readiness. So tell me about how, if somebody is in that state, where maybe they're using a more basic system or a basic tool, how do they determine, when they're ready to move into the next thing? How do they get ready for the next step?
Yeah, you will definitely feel when you're ready for the next step. You'll feel it before you notice what the heck is going on. But you do start growing, and you can see it. I actually recently met with a client that I set up with Trello like 2 years ago. They're still in Trello, and now they're saying, like, I can't take it anymore. Like, I want to be able to, have this task repeat all the time. I don't want to have to just keep it there and keep changing it. And it wasn't painful for them until now. So that's when they came back to me and they were like, what do I need to do? How do I make this better? Or do I need to go somewhere else? So I start with pain, looking at your pain points and things like that. So system readiness, it definitely, you want to look and make sure you do have the right tools, and the process is in place, and that pain first model, it's not really a model, I just call it that. Where you're basically just, it'll reduce some of those daily errors and inefficiencies. So focusing on finding the solutions to those, like, smaller problems that are really holding you back or causing confusion among your team. Like, you want to bring things to a place where you can breathe a little bit, and then, if everything isn't broken, just chip away at the smaller things. Focus on finding solutions to the real problems, the confusion they're kind of happening in your business. And if everything isn't completely broken, then let's just try to alleviate some of the pressures that are being created, like, broken email merge fields that TCs keep overlooking, or things that are actually being complaints from your agents, like, hey, this didn't go out, or things like that. You want to handle all of that stuff first, and then you can start thinking about it. If you can't handle the business that you currently have with the systems you currently have, you want to kind of look at those.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to put yourself in a position to handle those bigger projects, like transferring slowly to this one other tool. I do think that every TC business owner should be time blocking time for their business and these systems, and at least 2 hours. And it can't be, I personally don't think it should be in working hours. I think it needs to be before like early morning or late night. So it depends on the type of person you are. And I'm huge on that. Listen to who you are. Don't try to make yourself a morning person if you're not, right? Just
Right.
fit your schedule around that. So at least 2 hours, make sure to put that aside and just work on anything that has to do with building out this process.
Yeah.
And once those immediate internal fires are kind of put out, you'll want to start, collecting as much data as you can, not only the data that you have, but other things that you can find to compare your processes to. Not one time have I reviewed something and I asked, like, oh, hey, do you guys not do this in your state? And almost every time they're like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that. Like there's not been one checklist that I've seen that's complete. So looking at other people's, I think that's so important before you really start setting in stone some of these processes, because adding weird things later on is going to make you have to look at everything.
Yeah.
And that kind of boils it down to, okay, where do we keep all of this stuff? Most of the TCs that I know don't have a business management tool, don't have somewhere where they dump their thoughts, ideas, projects, dreams. Just a spreadsheet, anything that you can collect all of your thoughts into. I think that is where the majority of our stress comes from. It's from having everything in our heads, not only the things at home. Like I was just talking to my brother the other day. My brother lives with me. And I have his schedule in my brain, and I literally pull it up when he comes into a room, like, okay, what does Sean have? Like, but if I put that into my task system, right, I would never have to think about that. And when he comes into a room, I don't have to go into that mini panic of like,
Mhm.
is there something? So I recommend, if you're just getting started, I think ClickUp is great. It's free, it's user friendly. And it was kind of easy to get started. But something like Smart Suite is what I personally use,
Mhm.
and I absolutely love. It's like a mix of ClickUp and Airtable, but that might be a little bit too above. But so if you're wanting a good tool to start organizing your thoughts, I would say, jump into ClickUp and start putting those ideas down, because then you can jump back into it and see all of those, and it relieves a lot of the stress of like, I know I have so much to do, I don't know what. You have it. Start taking things out of your brain. I think that
It,
has a lot to do with the
yeah, it's
stress.
so important to do. I think that we all have been guilty of seeing something that's maybe a wrong on the checklist, even if it's something as simple as a spelling error, and you know that it's there, and you know that it's there, and you're like, oh, I'll fix it the next time. I just need to get this out. I'll fix it in the template next time. I just need to get this out. And the next thing you know, it's 3 years later, and you still have that error in there, and you're still fixing things. And you're like, how many times has that gone through without me fixing it because somebody else was working my checklist? And it's all sorts of things. So I definitely agree with you. As systems like tools that are like ClickUp, or even if it's just a piece of a reminder box on the side of your computer that you could just jot something down, and going back to it every, once a week, a couple of hours at a time, getting that into the habit. So then you're not like, oh, once a quarter, I'm going to work on my business. No, make it weekly because then you will be a lot more efficiently and it won't feel half the tasks. I think we all also know this. Half the tasks that we constantly dread and we put off, if we actually sat down and do it, we'll find, oh, that took me 10 minutes. Why have I been putting this off for 4 years or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, and
uh,
that's why I love these business tools too, because it allows you to put everything in that one task, right? So like we have this one task, I want to complete this project, but then we can have a side field that is assigned to that task that we can break down every single thing we want to do within that project. So the harder part is the sitting down and like getting started, but if you have a centralized place where you sit down and get started here, then it's so much easier to like, okay, I know I just need to go to this page and do what I have at the top. You know, it's easier than thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to do this and that and this and that. But I feel like uh having something like that has reduced a lot of that for me, of the like the avoidant of even sitting down with it. One of the big investments every year, I invest in a membership site or a coaching program. And this year I invested in one on investing. And I've only been in about 2 months, and I get excited to sit down with my finances. I get excited to open my bank account and copy and paste and do the things that I need to do. And what I did was create a step by step. When I sit down, what do? I make this a pleasurable thing too, which, oh my gosh, we could dive into really making those that 2 hour block. Like we don't want to sit down for that 2 hour block, but we want to create a system around sitting down for this 2 hour block. Before I even sit down for my 2 hour block for the finance thing, I've brainstormed where I want to do it, which is going to be in a place that I enjoy. I've brainstormed what my reward's going to be, what my pleasurable step is going to be. I've thought this through, and then the next step is to do this. So if you just put it there and write it all down, follow it through, you just need to sit down and show up. I think that that really helped me with just everything's there. I don't have to think about it. Just sit and do what you've prepared for yourself.
Yeah, I really like that strategy. That will definitely, I need to implement that so that I actually get some of my things done.
Yeah, and I'll try to share something a little more easier in writing with you, so that I just kind of spewed what I did, but yeah, it's
Oh,
been
okay.
super helpful.
Yeah. So, with a reliance on technology, what do you think that transaction coordinators can do to ensure that their systems are secure and the client data is protected?
Yeah. So this one's hard, and with technology, I think things are changing. And uh the more obvious things, I mean, so let's talk about like putting our data in tools, right? We don't know the intent of the people behind. I mean, we're sharing our information right now. Zillow is taking over pretty much everything. I guess it depends on what you're trying to protect. But when it comes to your own kind of stuff, I mean, you're giving your data to these tools. You can't expect privacy in that sense. But when it comes to what you can control, encrypting like emails, is there are a lot of different tools for emails and document encryptions. Um, and a lot of free tools too, looking into access permissions on the tool that you're using. A lot, not many, but a lot of tools do have like team wise, you might not want them to have access to,
Mhm.
certain things. Field permissions are important. Like, let's just say you wanted to not have to share financial information with people among your team. It's hard to really set up these types of systems and tools that don't allow those types of permissions. But and definitely pay for your own password manager outside of Google, because yeah, that's going to be the second layer of protection. And also you can have multiple members where they don't even see the agent's passwords. You can have them as a team member. And so
Yeah.
I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, I think that that's really important. The password management is definitely important. As we are working with multiple agents, we have often access to their logins, and there is a security concern, especially if on some of the platforms, some of their private information may be stored. We don't want just unauthorized people to have access, and those password protection programs do begin to solve a problem. We're never going to be able to stop the hackers. If they want in, they're going to find it. But but we don't have to lay down and just let them walk all over us. We can try what we can to protect it. And also I do agree with having if you're working with, a brokerage compliance system, if there's an opportunity for you to have your own login and password instead of using your agents, that is going to be a good idea and better as well. I do think too, we're as transaction coordinators, often we are asked about wiring instructions and providing confidential information with bank accounts and stuff like that from the title companies. And, I've had title companies send me a whole worksheet with the expectation that I'm going to fill it out on behalf of the buyer. And I'm like, no, 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 no. So setting a boundary on what information you're going to even touch as a TC is also really important. And staying away from people's, you know, marital status and social security numbers and bank accounts is step number one.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, and kind of think about this, but that's a great point, and I don't deal with that. It's like that. That's not I don't want, we can say no. It is our business, and we can tell people what we will do and what we won't. And we need to, we need to have what it takes to say, hey, listen, I don't want to be held liable for anything. I don't feel comfortable doing this. And stay away from it as much as possible, because really, this is your agent's transaction, and you're going to be asking to be in trouble by really, I've had people like, oh, send me like proof of, I want you to send things directly to title or lender or
Yeah, I don't want to see
agent.
your bank account
I don't
number.
want
I
to see it.
want to don't show it to me. I know I would never do it, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, I think, we both have been around for a long time and seen the changes in the technology that's been around. What advice do you give transaction coordinators, either that are independent or ones that are maybe working for a brokerage that is, maybe taking a little bit of time to catch up? How do you help them get over that hurdle of learning something new and embracing the technology and how it's going to make their lives better?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think it's so important to involve them early on. I think the the decision can be made at that higher level, but once you've made that decision, you need to paint it in a way that they're going to see where the benefit is. Um, a lot of times, I get on calls where the TC didn't even know what was going on. It was the first time they're hearing of this, and what bothers me most about well, like the brokerage or these real estate teams that come to me, this is what I want this set up. And then, okay, here's my VA. They're going to talk to you this whole time. Like, there's no way I can build out a fully customized system, with with someone that isn't, and let's just say this VA wants to pick up and do this. 6 months, they decide to do something better or worse, or you decide to go a different way. You don't know anything in your own system. So I always say, involve them early on. Once you've made the decision that this is it, I wouldn't take them on that exploring phase with you. But once you've decided on the software, share some resources, ones that kind of like blew your own mind, that like, holy crap, I can see this really being beneficial to the TCs, and really highlighting how it'll make their job easier, and really sharing the why with them. Um, because we can't just say we're moving, and you kind of just have to put up with it. And it in my experience, it's given the remainder of the thing kind of like where they feel like they need to, they're not, it's not completely clicking, and it turns uh it turns into like they avoid it completely. They start to kind of step away from the project, and I'm going kind of off wind
Yeah.
here, but basically, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I think I
Run that
understand
back.
what I think that I understand what you're saying, and that, you've made a decision to move to a different platform because you know that you need something to scale. But you may not have you as the business owner, team lead, operations manager, whatever, may not have the time to invest in the actual build out of the system. So you're going to rely on an assistant, like a virtual assistant or another admin in your office. And if they aren't involved early enough in the decision-making process to get excited about it and see that efficiency, it's going to be really hard for them to jump all into embracing it, and then seeing the additional opportunities of where things can be applied. I have an example of that even within my own business. When we first started working, the first of all, I have to disclaim here, I'm an early adopter of open to close. I love open to close. As I said, you helped me begin building it out. I do not even use a fraction of the things that it is capable of. And I know that there are so many additional opportunities. And recently I, sat down with my admin, who is my right hand, and I said, okay, we've been operating all this time in this way in doing these imports, and it's creating these problems for us. And we need to be more efficient. And this might cost us a little bit more time on the front end, but on the back end, when we're actually in the transaction, it's going to be better if we do this. And so, because she was there, like she was doing all of the importing and seeing the problems and getting the call saying, hey, this part of the template isn't there, this information isn't there. And it was frustrating for her. So now that she's much more involved in exploring the different ways, it's going to make our system that much more, our system and our use of the tool so much more powerful, because it's not me as the business owner saying, we're doing this because I said so. It's that. So I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, yes, in a nutshell, and you said it so wonderfully. I like to ramble, and then I get caught off in something in a whole different conversation. But
Oh,
yeah, just to, and also assigning that person, like, you I think you did jump in, and really you took it and you started learning it, and you started implementing and updating. And we need that guru in training, right? That person that's going to be the lead person on your team to go to for all of your questions. And then that lead person needs to have a lead person, and it's probably going to be outside, right? You're going to need an expert or someone that knows more than you about OTC that you can go to and ask those questions. So just having that point person and letting your team know, like, hey, I'm going to be this point person. If you have any questions, I'm here to support you through it. And then centralize all of these questions, and even creating like a small dashboard where there are quick links to resources, really involving them and understanding that they're not going to be as passionate about this change as you are, because you see what it'll do for your business, but you need to involve them enough to get them excited and also show them that this is beneficial to them. With that, this is what the end goal is,
Yeah.
and help
I
me get there.
Definitely. And I think a lot of times I think this is true in any industry where outside of real estate, transaction coordination, anything, we use the word buy-in as, it's a buzzword, it's corporate speak, I'm going to get your buy-in, but it is a real thing. It is a real thing, and there is real value in it. And I think that if we stay with that energy of getting people to, we can call it something different, we can make a different buzzword for it, but if we, at the end of the day, if the goal is to get that person to embrace and be excited about the potential as well, then we're in good shape. Good. So, I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of things, but there are a few more points that I want to talk about. And that is, some of like the technological thing that maybe a TC doesn't think about, and that's about system backups. We just last week, I believe it was just last week, Facebook went down for the day, or for a good couple of hours, and there were a lot of people that were feeling stuck. Now, it's not, the same thing as Google going down, but it can happen. And I think this is where the idea of like your system is your system and your tool is your tool. And what do you do if the tool isn't available? So talk us through about what your thoughts are about backups, backup systems or backups to your system, what do you do when technology is not cooperating?
Yeah, that can be a really scary thing because our entire lives live in these transaction management tools, at least the life of our business, right? So with technology now, and especially tools, it's not as easy to I don't know of a transaction management tool right now that allows like a backup, like a button, an automatic backup or anything like that. So we have to kind of go into manual ways of doing things like that. And I can't, I'm trying to think of other tools, but definitely like an open to close. You want to make like a property table that has all of that pertinent, transaction information, just all of those fields that can really help. And actually, you can add all of them. It doesn't even matter. And then download them as a CSV. It's going to have to be like a daily routine that you do at the end of the day. If it breaks down midway, at least you have everything in a spreadsheet,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely the way to do it is to have, that's one of the things I love about open to close specifically is that properties tab, and that properties tab can turn into a virtual whiteboard. So if you're a virtual whiteboard fan and that's the way that you like to work with your color coding and drop downs and all of that, that problem is solved within the platform, and you can download it as a CSV, and you can have access to that. You can print it out if you want to,
And you
at
can
the end of
import
every
it.
day. Yeah,
You can
that's,
re-import it if for any reason, you have yesterday's, it goes down, your whole system's wiped, God forbid.
yeah,
Um, you can import it and be back and up and running, quicker than most.
yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Good. The fallout isn't as bad anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. All right. So let's talk about, just so your closing thoughts. Tell me, what final advice would you give to transaction coordinators looking to optimize their systems and leverage technology for growth and that all important balance?
Yeah. So, I think we as a society need to focus, really prioritize ongoing learning. I think a lot of us say we did school, like, and we've lived life and now I'm done learning. But, you're going to be put in in a tight situation where you have to embrace technology if you don't do it voluntarily, and it's going to hurt more if you do it when you need to than when you can control the speed of how you learn these things, right? So we're never really fully set up. We're never fully automated. We're never fully done with optimizing our systems. It's a progression. You can be in OTC for 3 years. A new rule comes out. You have to change your systems to change it from this day. This our contracts change. We have to be growth minded and understand that we're always going to be changing, and stop putting so much pressure on ourselves to have something complete. It's never going to be done. So we should really stop, completely take that out of our head, that there is a done when it comes to system optimization.
Yeah.
And really the goal here is to work smarter, not harder, and technology can empower you to, achieve a lot more efficiency when we're able to dump all of these out. We're reducing our stress and ultimately achieving a more fulfilling life. My biggest thing right now, and really in the last year, is my peace. Like, no one should take me out of my peace. I am here to help the world. Every client that I go above and beyond, and we're jumping on Zoom meetings if we have to, whether it's paid for or not. I'm answering your questions at 10 o'clock if I need to, because this is the time that works for you. So, it's not so much about building your business to meet and match everyone else. It's building your business around you, and really creating that balance, and allowing technology to take pieces of your brain, and trusting that that'll bring you more peace than kind of
Yeah.
manually and doing everything the old way.
All
And
right.
get support. Support is so important. A community, even people that are at the same level or slightly above, talk to people about what you're working on. You need someone, at least one person. If you're not a big social media person, hire someone. OTC also has, I think they do one-on-ones. I don't know though. But you have to have someone that will answer your call, because you can sit on a question for 3 days and that idea, excitement is all over, your momentum's done. So definitely partner up with someone that
Yeah. That's great
knows you, your
advice.
system, and can help push you when you need it.
Yeah, that's great advice. All right. So, Josie, I'm so glad that you jumped on and were able to talk with us today and share a little of your journey and some great advice about working with systems and getting ready for growth and scaling. Tell us where can we find you?
Yeah, so tcoptimize.com, or you can email me at setup@tcoptimize.com. I am dropping some pretty exciting news, and I'll actually maybe send it your way before,
Okay.
so that you can kind of announce it with the intro, maybe, or whatever you want to do. But yeah, I've restructured my service, uh I guess, how they're put together, and offering more of a different tiered memberships to kind of help everyone, and more TCs on a general level, instead of the hyper focus on OTC, because that's
Love it.
built out and perfected.
Love it. I love it. Well, I can't wait to take a look at that, because I know that
Yeah.
you've been an incredible help and you're an incredible resource for our community. And I think that this is a fantastic idea. And can't wait to see how that all goes for you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And that wraps up another episode of the TC Exchange podcast. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this incredible journey through the world of transaction coordination. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to learn, and together, we're setting the compass to true north. If you want to dive deeper into the world of TCs or simply connect with our growing community, follow us on Instagram at TrueNorthTCT. For exclusive content, insights, and engaging discussions, be sure to join our Facebook group, the TC Exchange. And for resources, courses, and a treasure trove of knowledge, check out our website at TrueNorthTransactionServices.com. Keep the conversations going, share your insights, and until next time, keep your compass pointing true north. See you soon.